client reads your email and interprets it differently than you intended. A team member hears instructions and executes something slightly off. A project moves forward, but not exactly in the direction that everyone thought. No one lied, no one was careless, there's nothing malicious here. And yet, things are misaligned, often to the point where you can lose a client over it, or a team member can become very disgruntled. So, what's the issue? There's a communication leak. Not silence, not a lack of effort, but a breakdown in the shared understanding of what we're doing. And the problem is that you often don't see these right away. You see it later in rework, in frustration, in missed expectations, in clients lost. Welcome to Trust Leaks. I'm Sandra Martini, and this podcast is about the invisible breakdowns inside your business that quietly erode trust before they show up as bigger problems. Today, we're talking about one of the most underestimated leaks in business, in any business, big, small, medium, communication. Because most leaders believe if it was said, it was communicated. But communication isn't about what was said, it's about what was understood. So, how exactly would we define a communication link? It's the gap between what was intended and what was actually understood. Those two things are rarely identical unless you build the systems to make that so. Communication leaks look like instructions that lead to inconsistent execution. Clients who thought something was included in a scope of work, in a project, in a contract. Team members asking the same questions repeatedly, and yet often still providing something a little bit different. Projects requiring rework and decisions requiring revisiting and going over everything again. So when you have communication leaks, as they compound, it becomes increasingly frustrating. And again, everyone thinks that they're all set. The team on the inside is like, hey, we already covered this. Meanwhile, the client is like, this is not what I thought we were doing. What's going on here? Okay, so communication leaks often lead to expectation leaks from an earlier episode. And these communication leaks happen when clarity is assumed, not confirmed. You'll see a kind of a through line in the operational leaks. There's a lot of assumptions going on, and they're very well-meaning assumptions, yet at the same time, they're creating issues because what you assume and what I assume, not necessarily the same thing. Messages are delivered once, they're not reinforced, context may be missing, channels are inconsistent and often overlapping. For example, a client brought me in to say, we just can't seem to get things done and get on the same page. Can you help us figure out what's going on? And after spending a day looking at just how they were performing, what they were doing, it became very obvious. You've got Slack, you've got email, you've got phone calls, you've got text, and you've got Asana. And people are putting tasks and pieces of tasks in all the different places. There was no clear ownership of anything, following up on our last episode, and the communication was so fragmented that they didn't know, okay, where's that piece? Where's this piece? I know I saw that somewhere. Where was it? Oh, I think it was this. And so what ended up happening was that there's no system, no comprehensive system for confirming understanding. So we made things very clear. If it's a task, regardless of the size, it goes in Asana, period. If there are questions related to that task, it goes on the Asana task. And now all of a sudden, there became this source of truth, an Asana task or project or subtask, but it all lived in the same place and everyone involved was included on that particular task or project. See, when you've got these communication leaks, there's a trust impact. Internally, frustration is just through the roof. Teams feel misaligned, confidence in leadership drops, and confidence from leadership around the team drops because they're like, why can't they just get it right? And it all comes back to communication leaks, often from assuming something. Externally, when working with your client, they feel confused. Expectations drift, trust weakens. You're not going to get a referral. They're likely not going to continue. And yet, everyone's doing the best they can. But this confusion, it doesn't feel neutral. It's not natural. It feels like instability. And Your clients are working with you, they're paying you for X, and they want to feel held. They want to know that you've got it. They want to know that whatever the thing is that you're doing it in a way that they are expecting the results that they've asked for. Okay. That often doesn't happen with communication links. Leaders will often believe, I communicated that already. Okay, check it off the list. We're done. You know, they called you, they said A, B, and C, done. However, communication's not a one-time event. It's a closed loop. Until understanding is confirmed, communication is incomplete. That's why my favorite is put it in writing, do it consistently, meaning for the one client I mentioned it, meaning they chose Asana. Put it in Asana. We can always see what was said, when, by whom, and who owns this. I like to remind people that communication, it's not what you say, it's what they can repeat back. So if you ask someone ABC and they come back and they say BCD, that's not communication. They didn't understand what you were saying. And you can often see this. For me, it was with my nieces and nephews. I would ask them something and I would say, okay, what did I just ask you? And if they could repeat it back in a way that I knew they understood it, we had communication. If not, we tried again. There's a simple three-part system to fix this. First, clarity up front. Be explicit, not efficient. So if you need to go over something 3 times to ensure it's understood, and then you put it in writing, however you want to manage that, great. But ensure everybody's on the same page up front. Okay. Number 2 in this three-part system, the confirmation loop. Can you walk me through how you understand this? What is done in this scenario? What am I looking for? What are the results? What is our next step? And then step 3, reinforcement. Document key decisions and expectations in writing, because just this one clarity, quick conversation is not going to be enough. Communication leaks, they flow throughout your whole business. And when we're talking about where trust breaks down, you'll often see them in expectation leaks, in process leaks, and it just compounds over time. Similar to what we discussed with the responsibility diffusion. Things start out nice, but then assumptions creep in, and one goes this way and one goes that way. And then at the end, everybody shows up and it's like, whoa, what? What just happened here? That's not what we agreed to, when everyone believes it is. You see, most businesses don't have a communication problem. They have a confirmation problem. And until understanding is visible, trust remains at risk. If you're seeing misalignment in things, this is likely the root cause, or at least one of the root causes. Are you curious about your business's trust score? Take the free Trust Leaks diagnostic at trustleaks, Leaks, trustleaks.com. The link is also in the description. And if you like today's episode, be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so you don't miss what's next. We'll see you in the next episode where we'll be discussing process leaks and where systems start to break under growth. Until then, make it a great week.